Hello everybody, this is your student Facebook meteorologist Sean Bagden here, and we're going to be doing Day 1 National Forecast Competition forecast discussion here for Juneau, Alaska, which is located right on this island right here, about. So as we can see on our low-level water vapor imagery, we have this powerful low-pressure system, right over here across, I believe this is the Northwestern Territories here of Canada, and a strong area of, we call this the Pineapple Express, that is getting pushed just south of the region there right now, and did give them over an inch of rain today, over an inch and a half actually if we look at observations. Looks like they got about 2 inches of rain from that over the last 24 hours here. Pretty significant rainfall, but it looks like some low-level drying will come in place to stop that precipitation, at least for the meantime here. But upper-level clouds will likely remain as there is some moisture remaining aloft. But this should allow temperatures to drop pretty well tonight, and could be seeing some light precipitation still impact the region just off some westerly upslope flow that could be running into the mountains here, leading to some of those light rain showers across the region. So we do have some interesting forecast challenges here that are going to be impacting our forecast. It's going to be different than forecasting for anywhere else in the country that's in the lower 48. First challenge we have here is the satellite imagery. Normally, further south, the closer to the equator you get, the better resolution we have on satellite imagery, just because the satellites are generally located around the center of the Earth there, near the equator. But the further north you get away from the equator, satellite imagery starts to become stretched and distorted, and is a little bit less accurate than further down south. And we do happen to be quite a bit further north than most of the rest of the lower 48 here. Further north than anywhere in the lower 48 actually, so we have quite a bit more distortion in the satellite imagery than we do, say, down in Washington State, or heck, Florida has beautiful satellite imagery. So that's one challenge. Also, we're getting to the point in the year now where visible imagery is lacking throughout the day, as we're going towards polar winter here across the northern tier, north of the Arctic Circle here. And that means we're going to be having less opportunity to have a view of the visible satellite imagery. We can see that here comes the morning right here. This is the morning, and then shortly after that happens, we start seeing nighttime fade away back here. It's only a couple of hours of daylight, I believe they have now, probably like 5 or 6 hours. So it will stay pretty dark there for a majority of the day, which gives temperatures a longer duration to fall here. Alright, and also we can see the upper level water vapor in place here with this alto cumulus deck that's developing out behind the Pineapple Express here. And this upper level moisture should run into the northern Canadian Rockies here and lead to upslope flow, creating the potential for isolated rain showers that should not produce too much in the way of rainfall here. Also, one other thing that we've been working on here is we've been doing forecasts before this just to test out theories on our temperature forecasts, since temperature forecasts have tended to be not our strong suit in forecasting. We've been better with precipitation and wind so far. So we're trying to hone our our temperature forecasting skills, especially with the low temperature. We're generally pretty good with the high. So what we were able to see, we ended up doing pretty well on Sunday and Monday for our low temperatures here, and high temperatures are pretty much spot on, especially for today. And pretty much the formula we're going to be using here is generally the low temperature is on the low end of guidance regardless of precipitation across the area. Generally speaking, it remains right on the low end of guidance there. So whatever's showing the lowest temperature, we'll be going with that because it has even been below sometimes that lowest guidance. Also for high temperature, what we'll be doing is it's generally quite a bit higher than what guidance shows, even above the highest guidance. So what we'll be doing here is taking that difference in temperature, increasing that from the observed total by that amount, and any difference in dew point, we will take half of that, take half of the difference of that, and also add it to that temperature, and we'll adjust according to what that's showing, how many degrees that's showing. We'll show you that in real time here, and it'll probably make a little bit more sense. So we've been doing pretty well with our temperature forecasts across Juneau the past 3 days here, so that should continue over the next few days. Also, precipitation has been a little bit goofy with our models here, and we will show you why that is. And we can see pretty clearly why it is. We are on the edge of the domain of the regional model here, the North American model, the NAM, because Juneau is located right here, pretty much right on the edge of the model run right here, or the model domain. And that makes some of the values skewed here. GFS is certainly within range, but it is not small scale enough to pick up on the mountainous features and how that affects the temperature and precipitation of the area. And so we generally just go with the NAM for our forecast here, since it is that lower resolution. Generally a little bit easier to pick up on those small scale impacts that the mountains create across the area here. So that's our forecast challenges and what we're going to be doing for our forecast. Also, wind generally is on the higher end of forecast guidance, so we'll keep an eye on that. Kind of the same deal we had for KGRR in Grand Rapids, Michigan. So we'll continue to be on the high side of guidance, being taking the 60% rule of the highest wind values that are expected within the boundary layer. So now that we know our general forecasting process here, we'll get into the NAM model and the forecast. Generally, since we have a forecasting method here, unlike we did with the other cities, these will be pretty quick live streams since we have a very mechanical way to go about things here. So yeah, here we go. This is our NAM forecast. We'll push this ahead to the forecasted time here, or the latest model run, which is 18Z, and we'll bring it forward to 21Z to get our current conditions. So currently models are, yikes, quite a bit off here. About 9 degrees off, in fact, it appears, for our temperature. So looks like it's 40 over 40 here. This is our model guidance, and it's 40 over 40. And observations here are definitely showing quite a different story here. We're going to make sure we're looking at 21 UTC. Yikes, and temperature went really high today. 21. Okay, so yeah, this is, what is that? 49 over 46. Yikes. 49 over 46. That is definitely an issue. That we'll have to keep our eye out on here. Okay, so what this means is we are going to be increasing our high temperature by 9 degrees here. So that's a plus 9 factor. And our observation dew point is 6 degrees higher than our model observation here. So we can expect this to be, what is that, 6 degrees divided by 2, that would be a plus 3 factor here. So what this means is that is a total of a 12 degree difference here. Oops, 12 degrees. So we're going to add 12 degrees to whatever models show for the high temperature. That does seem like a lot, but models again have been extremely bad on forecasts here across the region here for Juneau. So that 12 degrees really isn't bad. Last night we made the forecast of 49, which was 8 degrees above modeled, and again we're still below what the high temperature ended up being with that 52 here. Alright, so here we go. We're going to make our section here for our high, our low, our wind, and our precip. Alright, perfect. So for high temperature here, this is going to be nice and easy. We're going to start out with the low because we're going to be copying whatever the NAM is showing here for that low temperature, which will be probably achieved pretty late on here as that cold front does move through. Looks like around 39, 38, 37. Okay, it looks like temperatures generally are going to be on the decrease throughout the day for a large majority here. So showing right around 37 being that low temperature, it appears. Yep, 37. Seems pretty reasonable. Okay, 36. Okay, we'll go with 36 for that low here. That generally works fairly well, going with what the model does for the low temperature. So 36 degrees here. And going back to the high, which looks like it's going to stay pretty steady throughout the day. Well, according to this model, although looks like there's going to be some drying occurring, more drying occurring than expected here. And we do see warm air advection occurring at the surface, which means I'm not going to be expecting too much in the way of, or we'll be expecting a large majority more of warming than this is showing right here. So it looks like 37, 38 right there, 39, okay, 39 degrees is what it's showing right here. So increase that by 12 degrees, and that's what we'll be looking at for our low temperature here. Seems a little high on a scary level here, but 12 degrees over 39 is going to be 51 for our high temperature tomorrow, which again does seem high, but we're going to go with that just given how the drying is coming in behind this. Looks like skies are clearing out pretty well here, and maybe even some low-level drying occurring back here near the Aleutian Islands and the Bering Seas back here in the northern Pacific, likely leading to a higher diurnal temperature range than models would be expecting. So I think we're pretty good on that. I may drop that by a degree here. No, we're going to stick with that. That looks pretty good. That 39 degrees. Okay, yeah. We'll stick with that because I think, yeah, especially with 52 already being observed here, I don't think we'll be seeing it fall all that much tonight, especially if we bump this up even a few more degrees here, as it is only 2 p.m. So yeah, I think it's going to be staying right around that temperature range tonight. And looking at winds real quick, we can clearly see we are not dry adiabatic here, so generally the surface winds will be right around what they're showing here, which is around 10 knots. Although, if we do appear to have easterly flow come in, I would not be scared going higher than 10 knots. Likely upwards of 15 I'd go if I see these winds flip easterly behind that frontal boundary here. But as of right now, things seem relatively stable and relatively westerly. So it looks like we have that a flow in which wind is not, high winds are not as favored here. So it looks like winds hovering around that 10 knot range. Yeah, 10 knot range, especially with that slight inversion near the surface. I think 10 knots seems pretty reasonable for this location. And it does not look like winds do flip around out of the east, at least so far here. Okay, now we start getting a little close to that dry adiabatic lapse rate for comfort here. But again, we're still showing around that 10 knot range. Appears we're right around that 20. Okay, so it's like 12 knots, right? Yeah, definitely looks like we're going to be around 50% of that value here that we have. So 20, actually it's going to be closer to 22 times that 60% rule, and looks like that gives us a wind around that 13 mile per hour range right here. So it looks like that wind's going to be pretty easy to forecast right around that 13 knot range, as we don't really have that strong steepening in lapse rates. We have no downsloping flow effects here, so wind should remain pretty uniform throughout the day. If anything, we have mountains blocking that. And low-level moisture, I do believe this is going to be a lot less impactful than it appears right here. I think it dries out a good amount more. Just having a look at the current satellite observations, it looks like very deep level dry air gets pushed in here. So I would not believe temperatures do drop very far here. Or I believe precipitation does not drop as much as expected across the region. If anything, I would expect amazingly 0 inches here. That would be my initial guess, because it doesn't look like, at least looking at the satellite imagery, doesn't look like there's going to be much in the way of precipitation producing clouds across the area with this dry air moving in. But may be impacted slightly by this incoming system right here. But I think we do have sunny skies for a period tomorrow. That's just my thinking. So I do think I'm going to be waning closer to 0 than whatever models are showing us, at least for tomorrow. Yeah, because look, it's showing these upslope snow showers, but I really don't think they're going to be too impactful for the area tomorrow. Maybe amounting to a couple hundredths of an inch here. Oops. I can't imagine that happening. Yeah, here we go. I would actually be inclined to go with a lower amount here, like say 5, 4, yeah, around 4 or 5 millimeters here. 1 second while we check that out. 4 millimeters, 2 inches. Okay, so it's showing about 1/10 of an inch of rain. I'd go about 0.08 inches since it's been giving us about half of what we normally get here. So yeah, I'll go 0.08 inches at least to start here. And we'll leave it at that for now. We're going to head over to Brian Tang's Weather Challenge Forecast Model output here, just to confirm what we have is not too bullish on either end, warm or cold end, or the high wind, low wind, too moist, not moist enough. We'll have a look at that right now, as we always do. And 2-meter temperature. Looks like we have 2 model camps right here. We have the high-end camp and the low-end camp. I am more inclined to go this high-end camp just due to the fact that we do have these higher temperatures here. It doesn't look like these have as good of a handle on these higher temperatures that we currently have now, and these are a good 9 degrees above these forecasted temperatures here, so I'd believe we remain on the higher end of this guidance right here. So I think 51 is pretty reasonable, and then 36 may end up being a little bit too low, but in this area right here I would like to be a little bit too low than too high, because temperatures have been known to really crash across this area here, at least the past few days here. So I think 36 actually does seem relatively reasonable here. 18Z NAM run and 18Z GFS. Yeah, so this is interesting. Just looking at this right now, latest NAM run is generally pretty low right here, and the latest GFS run is way up here by 52, 53 degrees. Actually, let's have a look at the GFS and see how well it is initializing. Yep. Okay. Oh, hold on, everybody. I think we just made a big mistake here. PAJN. I don't think I typed in the METAR code correctly here. Just one thinking. Hold on. Let me just make sure we typed in the METAR code here, because I don't think I did that properly. No, we did not. We did not do this properly right here. So that is the general forecast process here, but we're going to quickly go through and readjust our forecasting right here, just because we did mess this up a little bit. We did use some random areas model outputs instead of Juneau's outputs here. So we'll quickly adjust for that and reforecast, since you already know the process that we went through right here to adjust. And we can see the difference here is +6, and this is 4, so it ends up being +2. That seems a lot more reasonable right here. So that would be +8. Good. And then okay, that looks good. Good. Okay. So we'll add 8 onto that high temperature and keep the low temperature the same as model guidance shows here. This will likely give us a little more reasonable of a temperature, although 51 didn't seem too bad given what models are showing here. But this drops us down to 41. 41. Likely going to be a little bit warmer here, which would make sense. Down to 40. 40, 39. Okay, it looks like we're going to be right around that 39 degree range for our low. 38, okay. So it's going to be a little bit higher. That seems more reasonable given what I've been seeing for our model guidance right here for our low temperature. High temperature will likely remain up in the high 40s here, which given what's been happening, that does seem pretty accurate, as diurnal temperature ranges have been relatively on the high end here. Looks like temperatures hang around that 40 degree mark for the high, but drying will be in place, as I've said before, leading to higher temperatures and clearer skies throughout the period here. High temperature will likely be early on due to that cold front passage. So it looks like 41 plus 8, right? Yep, plus 8 will end up being 49 degree high temperature. So really not too much in the way of changes there for that. We'll also briefly look at wind. Looks like we stay around that 10 knot range, not really getting close to that dry adiabatic rate. And even if we were dry adiabatic, we'd still be talking about, was that 25 knots, so we'd be talking about 13, 14 knots yet again. We'll also be looking out for those westerlies that do happen to, if they do, or the easterlies, if they do happen to kick in, will increase our wind speed for that for sure. But looks like generally winds around that 13, maybe 14 knot range, especially as lapse rates steepen. Looks like our winds weaken aloft as the storm system does push away here. So I think somewhere around that 13, maybe 14 knot range. I think we'll stay with 13. Seems pretty reasonable. And 0.08 is alright. So really didn't make too much of an error there. So 48 for our high. Looks alright. High end, or low end of the high end guidance seems alright. And then our low dropping down to 38 is right with that low guidance as we were showing before. So seems all right. That's interesting. I'm not sure why it's showing Albany and that, so that's a little nerve-wracking. Precipitation here. Some models showing 0, others showing up to ½ an inch of rain. We're going to stay right on the low end of this given that dry air entrainment we're seeing on the backside of this low pressure system. I wouldn't even be surprised if we have 0 inches, but we'll go 0.08 just in case we get some upslope flow occurring across the area tomorrow. Seems pretty reasonable. Actually, we may go a bit lower than that. I don't know. Might end up going a bit lower than that. We will have to see. Also, we're going to have a look at our wind right here. Latest 18Z runs from the NAM do show our wind remaining right around that 17 knots aloft. So we may be on the higher end of that. Or the lower end. So that would be what? 17 times 0.6 ends up bringing us to 10 knots. So I think being a little bit high on that is not bad, especially given what's been happening with the winds being higher than expected, especially over the past 3 days here for the Juneau area. One last thing we're going to have a look at is the National Weather Service forecast to see where we are in relation to them on the forecast here. So here we go. It's going to be really slow here really quick. And perfect. Sorry about this slow computer here, everybody. Need to get that fixed. Here's Juneau. And here's what we have for the National Weather Service forecast for Juneau. It's generally been pretty bad, honestly, for the area, showing a high of 46 today and ended up being actually 52. So pretty bad in terms of that here. And showing a low tonight of 38. They have a low of 39. Looks pretty good. And a high of 49 tomorrow also looks pretty good compared to them, as they are on the lower side of that, and generally they're about that 4 to 6 degrees low on their forecast for that high temperature. So I'm pretty happy with that 49. Wind of 13 knots does look pretty good here, as they show that wind right around 13 knots, which is near that 15 miles per hour. And rainfall amounts also look not too bad right here, showing 1/10 to 1/4 of an inch. I do believe it's going to be a bit below that because of that dry air entrainment coming in tonight behind this low pressure system. So have a great day, everybody. We will be going back live tomorrow evening regarding day 2 forecast for Juneau, Alaska, and hopefully we go for the right town for our model guidance tomorrow. That would be absolutely wonderful. So have a great day, everybody, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.